Hey everyone, so for this one I wanted to talk a little bit about rifle crown, kind of what it is and why it's so important. So if you don't know what it is, the rifle crown is the feature at the end of the barrel that is the transition point between the bullet and the atmosphere. So it is the last point of contact in the rifle system before the bullet is in free flight and into its trajectory. So because it is the last point of contact, anything that happens there will have a lasting effect downrange and affect the entire bullet's trajectory. So what ends up happening is upon ignition, all the hot gases from the ignition are expanding and pushing the bullet out of the barrel. So as soon as the bullet gets to the end of the barrel, the gases have done their job. They need to be stripped away from the bullet and have no effect on it at that point. So that is the point of the crown. So what its job is essentially to pull those gases away from the bullet evenly so that there's a clean break from the gases in the bullet to the bullet in the atmosphere, so that they do not affect the trajectory downrange. So if a crown is done incorrectly or if it gets damaged, what can happen is you have inconsistency points in the end of the barrel that's going to affect the way the gas flows, going to create some weird pressure regions, and is going to have an effect and throw the bullet off. And you typically see that in some very sporadic accuracy because the gases are being pulled away and they're influencing the bullet, so it is not in a true free trajectory. So I've got a few types I want to show you here. Okay, so what I have here is my Christians in Arms Ranger 22. So what I'm going to show you here is what is known as an 11-degree target crown. So the 11 degrees comes from some testing done before my time by people that are smarter than me. From what I understand, they tested a whole bunch of angles and kind of settled on 11 degrees as the most consistent and most accurate. So this is the crown that Christians in Arms uses on all of our rifles. It's a very common crown and a considered very accurate style. So what you end up with is the face of the barrel right here, and then you have an 11-degree taper from the face of the barrel into the bore. So the actual transition point of the bore is below the face of the barrel because that 11-degree taper angle pushing into that bore. So like I said, the main purpose is to strip the gases away. That's a very shallow angle. It cleans the gases off nicely, but it still recesses this transition point below the face of the barrel, so it's harder to damage and it protects it a little bit more. Okay, and so the one I've got here is what is known as either a hunting or a crescent crown. So this is very common, especially on hunting rifles, because it does an excellent job of protecting the crown, still a decent job of cleaning the gases away, but this is kind of the one you see on typically most of your standard hunting rifles. So instead of having a flat barrel face with a straight taper angle down to this transition, it's actually curved and a radius from the bore to the outside of the barrel. So like I said, rather than being flat with an angled transition, it is a heavy radius through the full face of the barrel. So that, like I said, that does a very good job of protecting the crown in hunting situations. It's typically not considered as accurate as some of the other styles, but I've had a lot of guns with this style and I have never had a problem with them. So as long as it's done correctly and it doesn't get damaged, you should be just fine. Okay, so those are the ones that I do have. There is one that I don't have on any of my rifles right now that I still wanted to mention, and it is what's known as a recessed target crown. So on the face of the barrel, you have a flat face, but then closer to the bore there's actually a step. And that step comes to a flat, so the edges are 90 degrees of the bore, but they're below the face of the barrel. Same reason is to protect it from damage. So like I said, it's called a recessed target crown because it is recessed below the barrel face. Those are typically on competition guns and precision guns because those sharp edges in that transition are a little bit easier to damage and mess up. But because it is a 90-degree cutaway from the bore, it is very good at stripping the gases away very quickly. So those are the few main types. There's definitely more, but those are the most common ones you'll see. So hopefully you learned something. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment. Let me know if I missed anything or if you guys have any questions. But hey, I appreciate it. Thank you.